was a vertical SaaS company that automated regulatory compliance for groundwater users, mostly farms and HOAs. It was an IoT flow meter and some backend software that did all the reporting. I became super familiar with water policy and water infrastructure. And what I learned after working on that for a few years, the dialectic between not using water anymore, like no more showers, no more agriculture, low flow toilets, and desalinating the entire Pacific Ocean is not a good way to solve water scarcity, and we probably should investigate alternative solutions. I looked into brackish groundwater desalination. There's these huge aquifers full of brackish groundwater that's never been tapped into before because nobody knows what to do with the brine. I looked into urban water recycling, and that's good, and there's some big players in the space already, but it isn't going to produce enough extra fresh water to meet agricultural demands. Cloud seeding was actually invented by these three fellows. They were doing some totally unrelated cloud physics experiments and fresh water to meet agricultural demands. Cloud seeding was actually invented by these three fellows. They were doing some totally unrelated.
Yeah, shalom again. I know this is part 2 on this lesson. Alright, and take a look on the screen. The three fellas, that he's talking about are three Edomites. Alright, that is thinking about, to control the weather. Alright, so this is the tree that discovered and he gonna explain further. Alright, then we're gonna add some precepts.
Related cloud physics experiments and poured some silver iodide into the artificial cloud chamber, saw the increased ice nucleation, the plumes of larger ice crystals forming from the silver iodide, and then decided, because it was the 40s and dudes rocked, we're just going to throw this out of the back of our plane and see what happens. And so the first man-made snowstorms were produced over western New York in the 40s, and the bread and butter of glaciogenic cloud.
They're saying the 40s, so meaning that those in the 1940s. Alright, that is around the ending of World War II. Alright, that was heading into the Cold War, in the Cold War time, the Cold War era.
Cloud seeding, you have supercooled water, so a saturated cloud with more water that's below 0 degrees Celsius than can be frozen naturally. You'll get a profile of crystals that's more like this, really small and diffuse crystals. They're not heavy enough to fall in the first place, and they're not survivable enough to make it to the ground even if they do start to precipitate. By introducing silver iodide or other nucleation agents, you can shift the profile of the crystals formed from down here in the same conditions up to here, which are denser crystals that are more likely to precipitate, either as snow or rain. And I found cloud seeding just by going through a rabbit hole online. I then just decided, hey, why not go to the Weather Modification Association conference, where researchers from around the world are researching the most cutting-edge ways to modify the weather. What I learned when I went there was that they'd solved the attribution problem in the SNOWY project. So SNOWY was a seminal research project in cloud seeding. Just because we fly a drone up in the sky and spray some magic beans and it rains, that doesn't mean that we caused it to rain. And so what SNOWY did was they took really high resolution radar, like what we're using. In fact, it's the same radar truck. They measured the lines of precipitation that were exclusively in the path of the seeding aircraft. From the plumes of increased droplet size behind the seeding aircraft, they were able to tell farmers exactly how much more water they produced for them. We could commercialize this technology for the first time in 80 years because we could tell end users exactly what the value prop was. That was what led me to founding Rainmaker. So Rainmaker, in summary, is 1, using more sophisticated radar sensing to identify opportunities to seed and then measure the outcomes of seeding. 2, using drones for more cost-effective, safer, and timely delivery to the clouds. 3 is dispersing the nucleation agent in a way that is just more cost-effective and also yields a greater precipitation outcome. And 4 is experimenting with new nucleation agents to produce something that has higher yields, higher seasonal and geographic operability, and less environmental concerns. Historically, cloud seeding has been done in a horribly inefficient manner. So the way in which
you see, but this is no plan for environmental friendly. All right, the scripture tell you that let me get it. Let me do butcher. Let me just get Slovakia. Let me just get it. Let me just get a precept. Slovakia. Oh shit. Let me just get a precept. These fucking phones. Same book of Psalms. Psalms. I think it's Psalms 58. Psalms 58. Yeah, Psalms 58 and verse 3. Right? Alright, let me start from verse 2. No matter of fact, let me start from verse 1. Now, Psalms 58, start from 1. It says, "Do ye indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men? Yea, in heart ye work wickedness, yea, weigh the violence of your hands in the earth." Alright, so these man have it in the word heart means love, which go back to your mind. So these man have it in the mind, to work wickedness. Alright? And we'll practice it with the hands. Because you could see straight up, they're straight up, they're practicing wickedness, they're abomination. Alright? Abomination before Yahweh Shem Yahushai. You're trying to say that what the Lord did wasn't enough. Alright? So you're trying to do even more. Alright? Verse 3 says, "The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies." Right? So, that is what you're doing there. He's saying that it's environmentally friendly. It's not. Alright? It's not. You can't put chemicals into the air that and a lot of people, alright, some people depends on the rainwater. So the chemicals that you're putting in the so-called clouds you're making, alright, were full of chemicals that people digest. Alright, because when you drink the water, you digest it. Alright, so when you take in the water, it's a bunch of chemicals right now. Alright, it's a bunch of chemicals you're drinking, which is not good for your health. Alright, the same going on the earth, the same going back into these clouds and coming back by what? Evaporation and a condensation cycle. Alright, so it has a cycle that it go through. It evaporates from the earth, alright, and go into the clouds and come down back in the condensation cycle. Alright, so it's poisoning you. You're poisoning the people. Alright, so without further ado, let's get back to the video.
In Genesis, God gives man dominion over the heavens, the seas, and a greater precipitation outcome, and 4 is experimenting with new nucleation agents to produce something that has higher yields, higher seasonal and geographic operability, and less environmental concerns. Historically, cloud seeding has been done in a horribly inefficient manner. So the way in which we find clouds has basically been eyeballing them. Not very sophisticated meteorology, not very sophisticated radar. The first thing that Rainmaker's doing differently is using really, really high precision radar, some algorithms to determine from that radar where there's super cold water, where there's ice, what the best seeding conditions are. Teasing out whether on radar you're measuring super cold liquid water or ice is a complicated thing because you have the same particle size at the exact same temperature, right? Made of the same material, just in a different phase. So as we're doing the R&D and validating our approach, we're going to have in situ observations of the cloud to determine whether or not our radar processing is going according to plan. This is a backscatter cloud probe. It's essentially just a laser array. It fires the beam, I think, 5 centimeters out and measures the size, shape, and phase of water droplets in clouds. So those will be mounted to our research aircraft. As we're taking observations from the radar truck on the ground, we'll be validating those observations with this probe. And then the next one that's of interest is this aerosol particle spectrometer. It has a small inlet here and then a laser array inside as well. And this counts the concentration and then also the composition of aerosols in cloud. If you have too much dust in the cloud already, then your new...
I mean, if you could see, you know, it's lucky. No, let me get back. If you could see.
And this counts the concentration and then also the composition of aerosols in cloud. If you have too much dust in the cloud already, then your nucleation agent will have to compete with all of that dust.
If you look at this dude, you know, his jersey, you can see what an image of a false god. All right, the one that they worship and call Jesus Christ. Right, the one long hair, blonde Edomite. So you can see straight up that this guy is an Edomite. All right, you can see, you know, straight up that this guy is an Edomite. All right, look at the image on his jersey. All right. So let me get a precept to cut and clear it out, you know. Scriptures to prove all things. So let me get the book Exodus chapter 20 and verse 3. Exodus 20 and verse 3. It says, Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Verse 4 says, Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them nor serve them. Alright? For I, Yahweh, thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Right? So you can see clearly that he has an image on his clothing, all right, of a false god. All right. So by he having the image on his clothing of the false god, you know clearly that, hey, he's serving Cesare Borgia, because that is the image he has on his jersey. All right. So, hey, may Yahweh Shemi Oshai, you know, execute judgment on these Edomites. All right. May Yahweh Shemi Oshai execute judgments on them.
In Genesis, God gives man dominion over the heavens, the seas, and the earth. The seas are totally unconquered by mankind, and the skies, you know, give us trouble with drought and hurricane.
Yeah, hey, Slovakia. You know, this phone just playing around. Alright, so with that, I hope this lesson was edifying to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Indians, which are Israelites according to the scriptures. You know, first and foremost, we want to give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kodash. You know, next double honors to our elders and apostles of GMS. You know, salutation to the hopeful elect brothers and you beloved Aquats in the four corner of this earth. Alright? And especially you brothers that pushing this truth in sincerity and in meekness. Alright? Hey, Shalom. And to you beloved Aquats that keep believing and viewing our videos, you know, and being edified daily. Alright? The end is near. So let us don't sleep on these prophecies. Alright? Shalom.